Hello my friends, welcome to the garden. Today I'll be taking some sterile clay sand and turning it into living soil. Hopefully, that's the plan at least. So what I have here is some washed sand. Bought it at the hardware store. There's 25 kilograms, so it's about a square foot, and by volume about 18 liters sand. And then I also have a 5-gallon bucket of processed biochar. It's been run through a 1/4-inch hardware cloth screen, so it's all fairly uniform in size. That is, there's no larger pieces than a 1/4 inch, so it'll make a good soil aggregate. And to these two things I will be adding maybe about 2 cups of composted leaf and grass mulch, just as a inoculant for the mycorrhizal fungi. But the whole idea here is to create a usable topsoil mix without having to put in a whole bunch of compost, which is the #1 complaint I had as a beginning gardener just with my soil. I know everyone with clay soils has mentioned to me that they put a large amount of manure or compost in just to watch the soil eat it up, watch it disappear. So let's see what we can do here with biochar to mitigate that, right? So we can make a topsoil with the sand using the biochar, a one-time mix, and then to that you only need to add a little bit of organics to keep it going, and hopefully it'll become a self-sustainable system. But yeah, so I'll get this going. I'll cut this open and start. As soon as I rescue, I think that's one of the watering bottles from my containers the dog stole. He loves to misbehave when I'm talking to the video camera. Alright then, so yeah, I'm going to cut this bag open. As you can see, 25 kilograms clay sand. Let's see what it gives us. Well, here's the 25 kilograms of sand. It's actually pretty coarse. I don't know what your sand looks like, but I'm sure it has more organic material and other size particles than this. Has been sifted just to have a certain size, of course. So I thought this would be a good test medium. I mean, if I can turn this into topsoil, then whatever sand you have, whatever conditions you have, then biochar can do the same for you. So basically, I don't want to use all biochar to begin with. And again, if it seems like a lot to do, like add a lot of biochar or whatnot, you only have to do it once. Hopefully I get enough in here to change the structure of the sand. And sand's really good for draining water, right? That's a big complaint. You have to keep water in your sand, but that's good. It's good. It keeps it aerated, keeps oxygen where the roots are, where oxygen needs to be. But it's a poor insulator, right? It heats up quickly in the sun and cools off quickly at night. So it's not very good insulator for the plant roots, and it doesn't provide a lot of stability for the plant roots. So hopefully we're going to change all that by adding some biochar. I'm pretty sure I had my shovel somewhere. I'm just kind of stalling here looking for it. Okay. I thought I was all prepared. Evidently not. Yeah, the biochar is going to help retain some of that moisture that sand is known to just let slip through. It's also going to retain the nutrients, right? Sand is very poor at retaining nutrients. Basically, things have a hard time sticking to sand. Once you get enough microbiology in there, the microbiology will stick to the sand. But you need a habitat for it, and that is what biochar is providing here. So this was what, maybe a quarter of the pail? It's already making a difference here. So yeah, what I'm looking to do, I'm going to change the physical characteristics of the sand into more of like a loamy topsoil without using, I don't want the sand to be an amendment to the biochar either. But I mean, if it's 1-to-1 the ratio, then that's what it has to be. So you're probably thinking, yeah, well, I don't have biochar. Well, I got videos on how to make high quality biochar right in your backyard. You can even do it if you're in the city, anywhere that you can have a recreational fire pit. You can make biochar. But yeah, this takes mixing. So of course this is only 1 square foot of dirt. If you have a whole yard of sand or an acre or something, you're not going to scoop it up and mix it into a, whatever you call this thing, a wheelbarrow. This is for demonstration, of course. You're going to have to till it in. So if you're not liking that, you don't like disturbing the soil or whatever, if you have sand and you're looking for a solution, this is a one-time. You till, you disturb your soil once, you add the biochar, and you don't have to ever, you can go back to Eden, do whatever kind of gardening you like. Once you incorporate the biochar into your soil, your sand, your clay, whatever it is, whatever gardening method you choose to follow after that, you're going to be successful at. So you can go back to Eden, no dig, no till, you can plant a food forest, permaculture, whatever you like. But this benefits everything. This doesn't belong to one gardening or growing ideology at all. No matter what you're doing in your garden, this will help you. I'm already seeing a bit of a difference. That just sort of helps that the sand was a little moist. It is going to take a lot of, still very heavy on the shovel. That's talk more work, yes? Yeah. Let's get the see how much I've taken out of there. That was about half the bucket, maybe. A little bit more. Yeah, that should give the soil a little better structure. And what it will do, the biochar will become all inhabited with biology, and that will help glue the biochar to the sand and everything to itself. And you'll have a nice, rich, loamy soil. But yeah, I can already see the difference. It is pretty heavy. Now if that was organic matter, right, you mix it all in, say, oh, it's making a difference, it's looking good, and a few months later it's gone. This is biochar. This does everything the organic matter does also, except for rot, create toxic gases in your soil, or an anaerobic environment, and bad you know, anaerobic bacterias that are trying to break down all the rotting material, right? This is biochar. This is not rotting. It doesn't break down in your soil. It's inorganic carbon, and it's permanent, at least for my lifetime and yours. Many more. Yeah, so what's good about sand is that it's well draining and it's good, has good aeration. Adding this to it will not negate either of those things. It will still have good drainage, but now the biochar will be retaining some moisture. So we'll have both, the best of both worlds there. The biochar will also hold on to nutrients and microbiology that would have washed right through the sand by itself. So yeah, it might be a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm thinking this is getting pretty close, so I'm liking what I see. And I've been using biochar and making topsoil for well over 10 years now. This is the first time I've really gone with the sand. I wasn't sure how much I would need. I knew I would need a lot, and that brings up other issues, but I mean, biochar is pretty much the best solution I can think of. Like I said, you can do this each spring with compost, right? And you mix in your chicken manure and your compost that you've turned and worked all that time on, and your soil will go from this sand to something different. You know, a nice loamy mix. So the biochar is a mixture of particle sizes here too. It's not all the same size. It's been crushed up and put through a 1/4-inch screen. So it has every size from dust up to 1/4-inch pieces. Whereas the sand is more of a uniform size. Now we have more of an aggregate soil. Okay, so that was about maybe about almost 4 gallons. I'm going to put all of this in and call it a 1-to-1 ratio of biochar to sand. And again, this was washed. There was no organic matter. There was nothing but the same particle size. It was only sand. So if you're doing this in California or England or wherever I'm getting these comments from about sand, you probably won't need as much biochar as I'm adding here. This is like the worst case scenario, right? It's like if you're in the Sahara desert or something, right? It's just sand, nothing else. No organic material in it, no life, just sand. Alright, so now how to maintain topsoil after you've created it. Especially I'm going on about not using compost. How are you going to add nutrition in here? It's going to be done with microbiology. You can add a little bit of compost. Don't mix it in, but you can top dress in the spring or fall. I like using leaf and grass mulch to insulate my garden beds. So I apply that in the fall. I don't add any compost to my soils. Compost teas are very useful. compost tea won't sit around and rot in your soil like a pile of compost. Right? Yeah, you can see it doesn't stay two separate things. Right? It's not gonna form different layers when used as a topsoil. It becomes a homogeneous mix. It's heavy though. Sand was a little wet. Yeah, almost 25 kilograms of sand. Pretty much what I would do with my own topsoil. Make sure every handful, every scoop you have, you can see the charcoal. These are a pretty cool color, right? Just from that sandy color to a color of soil. This is, again, you saw it on camera, no compost in there. Speaking of which, while I'm mixing, just trying to scoop into the bottom there. Yeah, so it is a bit of a investment in biochar up front. Like I said, I can show you how to make it. You can make it from your own garden waste, you know, tree branches, whatever organic material you have, cow dung if that's all you have. And if you do have to buy it, it's fairly cheap in bulk. It's cheaper than fertilizer is, that's for sure. And you only have to apply it once, unless you don't apply enough in your field. You need to apply more. Sorry, I stepped on my, somehow knocked my watering jug apart over here. I'll worry about that later. It's always something when you're trying to make a video. It's hard to incorporate the videos into what you're doing. Alright, when it's real life, right? I mean, if I just had time set aside to make videos, and that was my job or something. But it's not. I'd be doing this anyways. I wanted some sandy soil in one of my beds. I never got around to buying more sand. That's why this video took a long time. But there you have it. I'm just going to grab some compost. I'll do that off camera and be right back. Okay, so here what I have, leaf and grass compost. I'm not putting it in here for nutrition. Oh, an earthworm went in with it. I'm putting it in there simply to inoculate the entire mix with the mycorrhizal fungi and some bacterias and such. It's fully composted, it's mostly like soil. But, so 2 cups of that is just over 1% of the total mix. So that's what 1% of organic matter looks like in this mix at least. It's really not much. So when you consider that the healthiest soils, right, I'll mix that in, it's gone. Right? You can't even tell how much I added. So of course that's not enough, right? But that's the complaint, right? You keep putting organic matter in, it disappears every spring. And that's what started my whole journey in the biochar. Was every spring to make my beds ready, I get some bags of manure, I'd shovel a bunch of compost. I'm wasting my time making compost, worrying about the compost. Something get in my compost. Why our plant's still not growing. So the conventional wisdom would be to do this, but with compost, right, or manure. The only problem with that, like I've said already a couple times, is that by the end of the season, or even halfway through the season, it's gone. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Now I got no issue using that as a topsoil. Did take a little bit more biochar than I expected. 1-to-1 ratio, you know, that's heavy on the biochar. But you only have to do it once in your lifetime, right? And maybe you can produce what you can on your own and then work it in slowly over a couple seasons. Till it in until you get a rich enough mix. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So again, that was almost, well, between 18 and 19 liters of biochar. So 5 gallons of biochar, 25 kilograms of sand, so a square foot of sand, which is again by volume about 18-19 liters of sand. And then I added 2 cups of fully composted leaf and grass mulch, which, as you can see, did absolutely nothing to the the structure of this soil. But this structure now, this is permanent now. Look at it from the carbon. Okay, doesn't clump up like clay or anything. Now, of course, sand and biochar is going to drain quicker than sand and clay, or sand and clay, yeah, sure, and clay and biochar. But the biochar will retain enough water that should keep your soil moist, healthy for microorganisms, whereas before they would have a hard time sticking to the sand. Now they have a place to live, and they will be more than happy in here. Yeah, I'm really liking this. This is looking very good. So I'm going to grab a container and let's plant some seeds in it, yes? And just like that, it is 3 days later. We had thunderstorms and lots of rain and wind come through. So it's a good test for this to see if the biochar is separating from the sand at all. Was one thing I worried about, especially I should have mentioned earlier in the video and before I mixed the biochar with the sand, is to make sure the biochar is well charged and saturated, so not dried out, because if it's dried out and you mix it with sand or your topsoil or clay or whatever you're mixing it with, peat or anything making a mix, if what you put in is dry and then you water it, it's going to separate. If the charcoal has been dry for a long time, it may even become hydrophobic and resist initially the water, so of course it's very light and it'll rise up. I wish it was a little bit heavier. It would be helpful with the sand, or even in my topsoil. If I leave my topsoil exposed and I get a lot of water, you do get, as you see here, you know, a little bit of charcoal near the top. But that's no problem. Once it's in a bed or being used with stuff growing in it, a mulch will go on top. That's my system of gardening. I don't really depend on compost or anything in the mix. As you know and you saw, I only put like 2 cups. I should have put 3, as you'll find out in a minute here, but very little organic matter. Really the inorganic carbon is replacing the organic carbon and also providing structure for the soil, which compost does do, but it's only temporary. This is permanent. So Anyways, I'm very happy with this. What I did here was just fill up this container, and I planted some carrots, but I didn't get it on video. As I said, probably 10 minutes after the last part of this video, it was raining and windy, and yeah, and it's been like that. As you can see, still wet, and probably going to rain some more today, so I shall hurry up. So yeah, so this container just has some carrots in it, and what I'll do is I'm going to take this container in the house in the fall, take the carrots out if they grow. You know, they should. Why did I plant carrots? I wanted to test the compaction. That's why I put it in a container. I filled it up nearly to this line here, and with all the rain we've got in the last few days, and I did water it in when I planted the carrots, it has compacted a bit, which is normal because my soil mix is you know, well aerated. I've been mixing it with the shovel. It does the same with my topsoil or anything I mix, potting mix or seed starting mix. They will all compact a bit as you water them in. So that's actually a good tip. If you're making a fresh mix to plant seeds in, water it in first and then plant the seeds, because if you plant the seeds and you start watering, the seeds may sink down also, and you may not get, it may seem like you got poor germination. It's just they went too low, especially so like carrots. But I'm talking too much. Let's get rid of this. This will go in the house in the fall, and I'm thinking I'm going to use it for a seed starting mix, or use it in the house with other whatever I'm growing over the winter. And the dog says hello. Okay, let's zoom, see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, I like this mix so well, I went ahead and just put it in one of my beds. Here what I've done is just made a partition at the end of one of my raised beds, and I've gone ahead and planted a strawberry I had accidentally disturbed when I was weeding. So I thought I'll just put it in over here and see how it does. Strawberries like sandy soil, and this is beautiful as a topsoil. So there you can see I wasn't just messing around. I'm using it. It's straight in my bed. I think if you have sandy soil or issues with sand, biochar is definitely very useful. Here I found turning it into a nice composition for a topsoil. I don't see why it wouldn't work for you. Now the measurements, what I actually used here, it seemed like a lot of biochar because I used 1-to-1 ratios, volumetric ratios. Right, I used a 5-gallon pail of biochar and 25 kilograms of sand, and I think I may have said that was close to a cubic foot, and I would have been wrong. It is 0.55 of a cubic foot, so half a cubic foot, just over half a cubic foot of sand, which is about 18-19 liters, and 5-gallon bucket is about 18-19 liters. So volumetrically the biochar and the sand was equal ratio, but by mass that actually works out to 13.5% biochar. So you'll see all the recommendations of 5 to 10%. That's based on mass and not volume. You may have watched my biochar video on how much biochar to add. I was going volumetric measurements because that's what I have to measure things in the garden, either, you know, by the cubic foot, the wheelbarrow, right, or some other container, or by gallon, right. I got the pails, or by liter, right. Make this is Canada, so we use both. It's interchangeable if you're old enough. Anyways, but volume and mass is quite different, especially you're talking sand or clay. It's very dense material, and then biochar is the exact opposite of that. So it may seem like a lot of biochar because it was a big 5-gallon bucket, and it didn't seem like a lot of sand because it's dense, it's compact, right? So it looked like you have to add a lot, but really it works out to about 13.5%. So somewhere, of course, there's a margin of error. So somewhere between 13 and 15% biochar. The rest is sand. I added 2 cups, so by volume that would have been about 1.5% compost. But by mass, that's less than 1%. I think it worked out to 0.83 when I did the calculations. So less than 1% compost, 13.5 to 15% biochar, and sand. And it makes a topsoil. It's yet to produce, of course. I've only just done it, and this is my first time working with sand too. I was a lot more hesitant. I thought it would take a lot more biochar, it would make it impractical, but really, I mean, the common use of biochar is 5 to 10%. This is running 13.5%, so it's not much more than you would add to already productive agricultural soil. So if you need a solution to amend your sand, I think you're looking at it right here, because yeah, I'm very happy with it. We'll see how it goes. And of course, I'll keep you updated. Stick around. I'm going to do the same with clay. I'm going to purify some clay so it's only clay, and then I'm going to turn it into a topsoil. So that's one extreme to the other, and everything in between. My native soil is clay and silt loam. Very little sand, but there's some sand in it too. But yeah, basically, if you can turn clay sand into topsoil or pure clay into topsoil using biochar, I mean, what else you need to sell it? I wish it was a little heavier and stayed in the mixes, the matrices, a little better. But yeah, as you can see, it's fine. I'd say this was a successful test. It was very easy, and yeah. So again, it's 13.5, maybe 15% biochar at the high end, 12 or 13 at the low end. Less than 1% compost or organic matter. I'm going to plant into it, and I will add a mulch layer. So organic matter, worms will come up from beneath, eat at the mulch layer, and spread their castings throughout the composition, right throughout the soil. So I'm not worried about that, and yeah, I'm very happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you like this sort of thing, if you're looking for easy, affordable, and organic solutions, sustainable practices, then please subscribe. Join me here on the channel as a friend. You're always welcome in the garden. And yeah, until next time, have yourself a great day, wherever you are, whenever you watch this. Peace.